Hi, it's Sue from Pittsburgh Lesbian Correspondence. This is day whatever of my Pittsburgh Pride posts. I didn't look at the date before I started. Doing little updates, reminding you of why we're connected, and hoping you'll consider making a donation to my living and legal expenses fund. I got a donation today through Cash App, and I really appreciate that, so thank you. I'm not going to say your name, but I appreciate it. I want to just talk real quickly about a concept that I came up with several years ago, and it was built on an idea that my friend Jim Fisher-Keller, who those of you who've been in the community well may know him, he told me that he always defined or saw Pride as happening in waves. That there was the bar phase, and then there was the in the park wave, and then there was the street festival wave, and then there was the street festival with bars wave, and now we're back to the park. And it's the idea isn't so much that things shouldn't change, is that they do, they inevitably do, and that Pride doesn't belong to any one person, any one organization, or any one vision. That it's always going to evolve, and we really need to go along with it. So what I built onto that was this idea that I call 1,000 little Pride Fests everywhere. I've noticed over the last, 6 or 7 years that more and more local and hyper-local prides have sprung up. So for example, in Allegheny County, there are at least 18 Pride festivals. And I'm not talking about other kinds of events that are celebrating Pride. I'm talking about festivals. So Mount Lebanon has a Pride. Bellevue has a Pride. Millvale has a Pride. Fox Chapel has a Pride. I could go on and on. A lot of Scott Place has a Pride. And then when I think about hyperlocal, I'm thinking about Morningside has a Pride, which is a neighborhood within the city. Greenfield has a Pride. And they're all important and they're all welcome and necessary because, one, they're reflecting sort of the will of the people who live in those communities. You can see me, the wind is blowing my hair everywhere. And two, they're it's important to be connected on that grassroots community level, to know where you're safe, to know where you can find support, to know who you should support. And frankly, it's what people want. And I think it's probably the next phase. That doesn't mean we don't need the big prides. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. What's fantastic about all of this is that you can go to Pride all summer long. If you want to go to the big Pride in Pittsburgh this weekend, that's awesome. You can do that. But if you miss it for some reason, there's a lot of other Pride festivals, big and small, in Allegheny County, but also across all of Pennsylvania. I did a quick scan, I guess, and I came up with, at this point, 81 different Pride festivals. The other thing that's interesting is that a lot of these festivals are taking place outside of areas that we consider friendly or safe. And to measure that, I'm looking at whether they have a non-discrimination clause. So statewide in Pennsylvania, there are no non-discrimination protections based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. So even if you just attend a Pride and you're perceived to be gay, in a lot of places, actually about 75% of the state, you could be fired and there'd be no consequences. You could lose your apartment, you could be denied an apartment, you could be refused service in a business. And so there's a lot of bravery and courage that comes with that decision to either organize a Pride or attend a Pride. And we should really be, supporting people who are doing that, because most of these festivals are happening in Indiana County, there's not one in Armstrong. There's Fayette, there's 3 in Westmoreland, there's 1 in Lawrence County. There's not anything in Butler and Beaver to my knowledge. There was 1 in Mercer, Venango, Oil City, Erie, Meadville. That's all Western Pennsylvania. But then across the state, there's all kinds of Prides happening. So I'm going to put the map in the comments here, and you could take a look. It's from last year, but it still applies. Nothing has significantly changed. So 1,000 little Pride Fests everywhere is actually a really big step forward, and hopefully will give us the push we need to get statewide non-discrimination protections, or at the very least to get more local non-discrimination protections. I'm looking forward to getting to some Prides myself, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.